PG-13.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin, the last one of the year. Today is December the 29th, 2017. Long-term thinking. Don't be impulsive, people. 2020 halving. It's getting closer. Where was it? 2018. All right. Remember, check out the link section below. Yeah, last night's show I just did like 12 hours ago. You got to watch it. It's been good lately. It's been wild. I've been talking about crypto dividends. Check out the links below to get t-shirts like this from Crypto Graffiti, Treasure, Ledger Nano at cryptohwwallet.com. Let's jump right into this. You guys know Paul Kabastani and Tai Zen. You don't know Russell Spears yet. He's here too. He's new to the panel, and we're here to wrap it up. So we got a tech guy, a trading guy, MGTOW, awesome philosophy dude. Russell's all over the place. So let's start out with the year is coming to an end here. Tai Zen, what was the story of 2017 for you? What was the biggest thing? What was 2017?
The biggest thing for me, thanks for having me on the show, Adam Meister. Make sure you guys pound that like button, guys. Pound that like button. Pound that like button, okay? All right, so the biggest thing for 2018, in my opinion, was the idea of the airdrop. You know, coins are airdropping, you know, left and right. You know, they're parachuting out of the air, and people think that, and this is going to continue. You know, we call it baby Bitcoins. You guys, you call it. I want to give credit to you for coming with the term crypto dividend. So if anybody used that term, it was Bitcoin Meister here that came up with that terminology. He was the first and the original one to come up with that. And we think that that trend is going to continue, this trend of airdropping, because it, eliminates the need for securities issues and a bunch of other legal issues. And it's a quick down and dirty way to steal somebody else's community when you didn't build your own community for your own coin. You know what I'm saying? So it's a way to just hop into someone else's community and start a coin. So I believe that this trend is going to continue, and it was only a matter of time. Most of the airdrops were going outwards, meaning that it would start from Bitcoin and would branch out into other baby Bitcoins. But we'll get into this later on when you bring up about Z Classic. They're the first coin to airdrop inwards, meaning that they're going to airdrop from a different chain into the Bitcoin blockchain. And our team actually had the idea to do that, but these guys beat us to it. So, kudos to Rhett and his team, for being the first ones to airdrop inwards into Bitcoin instead of outwards. So I think that's the biggest, I don't know what you call it, trend, idea, or philosophy, or trend that's going to be moving forward.
All right.
Is the airdrop.
Okay, Paul, what was your big thing for 2017? What was the big news for you this year?
Yeah, so I have to agree with Ty. Basically, at least in my mind, one of the big sort of unanswered questions going into this year was like, what would happen if sort of one of the worst case scenarios happened, which is Bitcoin forking. That was something that I guess as a tech guy really worried me. It made me wonder if people would sort of not take this tech seriously, because as we now see, there are basically forks happening almost every day, is what it seems like. And so that always worried me, because a lot of this is just based on what people think, not necessarily the strength of the tech. And yeah, the Bcash fork really had me freaked out, and I would say that was also my big story of the year.
Wow, and it all turned out great. Hey, pound that like button, people. So let's hear Russell here. What was your 2017 thing? I think it might be similar to these guys.
Indeed it is. I think the most important thing that actually happened was us getting over the fear of these forks. And I have to say, listening to your show, it really got me to think differently about them, especially given the prevailing kind of attitude at the time. But make no mistake about it, whether or not we have the tech and the innovation in this space yet, it will not matter, I think, at the end of the day, because it is an open and decentralized system. And when we start implementing a lot of these forks, both, I guess, an airdrop into Bitcoin, which is actually new to me. but these normal airdrops as well. You're going to see a kind of, in my opinion, I call it the Bitcoin Hydra. I know you mentioned it earlier, but it's a thesis. It's a simple one, that the most simple, the most powerful, the most structurally complete system is going to be a multi-token system where all possible innovation is going to start occurring on a simple chain that's anchored to a value, a good store of value, and that's Bitcoin. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of attempts to fork. And in fact, one of them is a Bcash version that's going to be forked off from Bitcoin, Bitcoin Plus. Am I right?
Well, that's just the name. It actually, Bcash Plus is forked from Bitcoin. It's very confusing.
And that's perfect. And I think that's the beautiful part of this, is that even the innovation and the points that they think that they have an advantage on Bitcoin is going to be a part of this multi-token system.
Yeah.
We're going to have to start marketing the idea that Bitcoin Plus is the real Bitcoin Cash.
Dude, it's getting confusing out there in crypto dividend land. All right, Russell, I love what you've been talking about this, just calling it a Bitcoin Hydra and the whole thesis. And people could check out his channel and all these other guys' links below. It is all linked to below. Always check out the link section below. So let's say, Russell, what do you think this is going to continue into 2018? What do you think the big story of 2018 is going to be? Or is that just totally unpredictable?
No, I think that's going to continue to be the biggest story. Is like, again, what's going to make this important and significant is that people who actually have the initial investment in Bitcoin continue to hold their investment in all of these other areas. And I agree with you. If you're going to spend something, spend an altcoin, not your Bitcoin, because again, that will give you buy-in to everything that's happened. But don't just blow them away, guys, because the next Satoshi could be innovating right now on a fork of this Bitcoin in 2018.
Yeah, Russell's a little bit. I like try to get as much Bitcoin as possible from your crypto dividend. Russell's like, wait a second. Some of these there might be, hold on to them. But again, you don't get rid of your Bitcoin, because if you get rid of your Bitcoin, you get rid of the opportunity to get more of these things. You cut down on the opportunity. So he's absolutely right. Tai Zen, what do you think the trends are going to be in 2018? Is there something unexpected coming along? Well, there probably is. Of course there is. But can you predict the unexpected right here today?
There's one trend that's coming in. There's a couple of trends that I expect. One is that on the crypto side, I believe there's going to be 1,000 more YouTubers like us coming online. There's going to be 1,000 of them a day. Back when you and I first started, there was only a handful of channels. You can just pretty much remember everybody and who's broadcasting, who's talking about what. And now we're getting flooded with people. And a lot of them, I don't understand how they claim to be, Bitcoin, blockchain experts when they just bought their first Bitcoin and they don't even have a whole Bitcoin yet, just last week. That's going to be the first trend. I know it's tickling you to death, man.
I mean, those guys, it's like some little kid bought a 0.1 Bitcoins, like, I got some good graphics here. You got people listen to it.
Well, I think what we have to remember is that this flooding in of all of these fork coins are going to flood out all these altcoins that are hostile.
Yeah.
Well,
Dogecoin. There's going to be a fork of Dogecoin.
Ty's going to talk about his Dogecoin. Okay, Ty, get on to it.
Dogecoin to the moon. So
yeah, that was going to be one of his 2018 predictions. Okay, go back to 2018.
No. My other prediction is this. My other prediction is that institutional money and Wall Street is now pouring in. I would say that 2017 is the year that Bitcoin is legitimately legitimate. Now, it was legitimate among all of us already, okay? But 2017 is the first time in Bitcoin's history where it's been legitimized by the mainstream press, by the Wall Street, by everyone, right? To where mom and pops now, you can be confident in telling your friend or your mom and pops and say, hey, when you buy Bitcoin, it's not a scam, it's safe, it's cool, it's legit. Because before this 2017, you still had to tell people, just be careful, and everything. But now you can say with full force, right? And I think that there's going to be a lot more money coming into to the crypto space, and not just Bitcoin alone, but into the altcoin space and everything. Now, you know, full disclosure, I'm a trader, so I trade every coin. I have no bias towards any, you know, like, you know, Bitcoin Meister here. The fact that his name is Bitcoin Meister, you already know where his bias is at. So that's what I think are the two trends. More broadcasters talking about blockchain and crypto, and more and a ton more institutional and Wall Street and what I call traditional money from the IRA and 401ks. They are going to get drained, and they're not going to be happy with that.
I hope you know that that's not a bias. That's long-term thinking.
Long-term thinking, baby. Remember?
Go and hold and pound that like button. Go strong hand. Somebody needs to make a profile, a silhouette of Adam Meister doing this, right? And put gold and hold on it, and I will support it, right?
I got some
hold, strong hand, pound that like button.
I've got some t-shirts with that. Now, first of all, as you can see, Ty and I have a lot of energy. I mean, but some of the people are so unhealthy out there. They're like, you guys must be on coke. You got Tai Zen and I mean, we're healthy dude. I mean, he's a trader.
No, you don't need to be on coke, man. If you bought in at Bitcoin 4 years ago, you'd have the same energy that me and Adam Meister has. Okay. Yeah. I remember I died laughing. There was a video that Adam Meister made, I don't know how many years ago, one of his first videos that got me to pay attention to him, right? First is that I respect the fact that he doesn't give a crap what anybody else say. I always respect people that follow their own way, okay? The second thing was he made a video about instead of drinking a can of soda or something like that and getting diabetes, you should take that 50 cents or that dollar and put it into a Bitcoin because you'll be happier and healthier.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, in fact, you know, thinking long-term about your life financially is absolutely stupid if you're not thinking long-term about your health or the type of relationships you create, especially for men.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so, Ty, that video I made like in 2015. So indeed, if you didn't buy sodas for like a few weeks, you spent $250 on Bitcoin back then, it would have bought you a whole Bitcoin. And you'd have $15,000, $14,000 worth of Bitcoin now. I mean,
that's life-changing money.
Yeah. People thought that was funny and stuff. But dude, so I got healthier and I got richer. And if people would have listened to me, hey, but wait, let's go to Paul. Paul has been quiet. Paul, I want to ask you, it's a double question again. What do you think the trends of 2018 are going to be? And then tell us about what you're doing with the Lightning Network and what do you see with Lightning Network in 2018 and 2019?
Sure. So I think 2018 is going to actually be a year where the stuff that I'm working on, which is Lightning Network stuff, will come into play potentially in a big way. For example, like we all know about the Bitcoin scaling debate that lasted the past 3-4 years or whatever, which ended up resulting in Bcash forking off and now all the other forks. I think we're going to see for real now which approach is the correct approach, and Lightning Network will play heavily into that because even though I personally try not to spend my Bitcoin as much as possible, since I'm all in on Bitcoin, I'm forced to. And the transaction fees and the slowness and congestion of the network has actually been a legitimate, real issue. And basically the Bcash folks and King of the Trolls think that making like a highway, adding extra lanes to a highway is the way to sort of solve that traffic congestion problem. But really, if you think about Lightning Network, the way it works is sort of, imagine a bunch of people are stuck in a traffic jam on a big highway, but you happen to have like a drone, and you can take that drone and jump anywhere you want. So you can basically fly over all the traffic. And that's sort of a overly simplified way of thinking about Lightning Network, but that's sort of how I'm trying to approach explaining it to people. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear from you guys. How much do you know about what Lightning Network entails? Because I'm like deep in the weeds. As Adam said, I'm a tech guy. So I'd love to be able to address any concerns. I've heard of people like spreading FUD about Lightning being sort of a system of IOUs, which is definitely not. I've heard stuff about people thinking that there's the potential for like printing money out of thin air, or having fractional reserve banking, which there definitely isn't. Everything is a legitimate, real, 100% valid Bitcoin transaction. It's just that basically people are creating all of these valid Bitcoin transactions, but never broadcasting them into the main Bitcoin blockchain. And that's sort of how you can have this off-chain scaling happen. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear any questions you guys might have about it.
Well, could I actually just make a statement? All of this emphasis on having a medium of exchange, I think, is a little misplaced. We need to actually have a store of value. And if I have a decent store of value and I can use any kind of fiat, it doesn't matter if I'm using the Zimbabwe dollar at the worst time in their history, you know, as long as I can transact within that second or week or what have you. Where I think Lightning may be interesting, and this is something that you'll consider, is actually creating a fork of Bitcoin, implementing your Lightning rather than looking for consensus, and demonstrating its value to everybody.
Interesting.
Well, so you don't really need to, well, you definitely don't need to fork Bitcoin to have Lightning. We have Lightning working on Bitcoin today already. And it's working on Litecoin as well. And I think there's work on other altcoins for enabling Lightning transactions. So yeah, there's no actual need for a fork. But speaking of forks, Bcash actually cannot implement Lightning because they specifically decided not to have SegWit, and SegWit is a hard requirement to be able to have Lightning transactions. And so that's going to get very interesting when if they ever end up getting spammed on their chain, and then they have no real way to scale it out. That's going to be interesting potentially.
I think everybody's. Go ahead.
They would have to hard fork this. I mean, but they can hard fork easier. I mean, they have a dictatorship over there.
It's a centralized token.
Yeah.
They'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you about Lightning Network, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get. A lot of people think that because I'm a trader and I trade every coin out there that I have something against Bitcoin, and I have nothing against Bitcoin. I actually want Bitcoin to succeed, right? If Bitcoin does what it's supposed to do, I'd be happy to sell all my altcoins and put it all back into Bitcoin. Because when I first started, I put all my life savings into Bitcoin over 4 years ago. That's where I started. I didn't start off with altcoins. I started with Bitcoin, okay? Here's my question to you. So I want Bitcoin to succeed. And a lot of people think that when I say that Bitcoin's transactions are slow or things like that, you know, they think that I'm nuts, I'm against Bitcoin or something. I'm not. I'm for Bitcoin. I want Bitcoin to succeed so I don't have to buy all these other altcoins and use them, okay? But you know what? When I first started 4.5 years ago, Bitcoin was free transactions or near free, and it's near instant transactions. And now I have to pay $88 to $104 for a transaction, okay? And no one can tell me that that is a good thing. Because when I first started my
scaling,
that
was a function of that blockchain scaling.
Okay, so and I understand that. I understand that. But here's my question to you, Paul, right? I have nothing against Lightning Network. I hope it works. I want it to work so that people stop paying these high fees. I don't want to be paying $88 for a transaction, okay? For a business transaction. That hurts our business, okay? So here's the thing, right? Why can't we, like, between the Bitcoin Cash people and the Bitcoin Core people, right? And I don't favor either one. I just want it to work, okay? Why couldn't we, and you're the first person I've talked to that appears to be neutral and where I can ask a valid question about Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, right? It takes time to implement the Lightning Network. During this whole time, right, why couldn't we scale up to a bigger block size while we were working on implementing Lightning Network? Why couldn't we do that just to reduce the congestion and decrease the fees and everything so we don't lose people? Because we're losing people. Businesses are getting hurt because, I mean, like, no one wants to pay $88 or $20 or $50 for a transaction fee.
Yeah, I agree. Just the other day, did you guys see that Bitcoin billionaire rap video that was going around? It was pretty awesome. But at the end of that video, the guy had a QR code where it turned out it was a real Bitcoin QR code. And so I decided to send him some money. And it ended up costing me, I think, $30 in fees. And I sent like $10 as the donation. So I 100% agree that the transaction fees situation is a little bit crazy. But then again, when that happened, we were under one of basically Bcash's, in my opinion, sort of attacks against Bitcoin, which was they were spreading a bunch of FUD on the Bitcoin subreddits. There was also, happened to be at the same time, a difficulty adjustment in both Bitcoin and Bcash, which made Bcash more profitable for the miners. And at the same time, there was a bunch of spam being thrown towards Bitcoin. So all these things together, and that was the day that Coinbase released Bcash on their exchange. So all those things together sort of seemed like, yeah, maybe they could be a coincidence, but to me, they seemed like a coordinated attack, basically. And so you have to take that into consideration when you're thinking about, yeah, okay, there were high fees at certain points in time. But totally agree that that shouldn't be the case.
I mean, for years, Paul, for years, every time I meet somebody and I evangelize people about Bitcoin, I would just pull out my Coinbase wallet, and the first thing I would have them do is, hey, just look, download Coinbase or Bread Wallet, and let me just send you $5 worth of Bitcoin real quick. Yep. You can keep for yourself. Let's not even talk about it. Just open up your wallet. Let me just send you $5. And lately, for the last year or so, I can't do that no more.
But that's not a problem with Bitcoin. That is a problem in general with blockchain technologies. Yes. That's why this SegWit is a solution, and that's also why we are allowing this scaling debate to get us off course.
I understand.
You could be a Bitcoin trader, or you could be a Bitcoin trader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to focus on the most important part of this technology, and that's the decentralized nature. It's the permissionlessness. It's, it's being open for developers like him,
Yeah, I understand all that stuff. I mean, I'm not new to Bitcoin. My question to Paul, since he's a tech guy, right, is why couldn't we find a medium? Like, let's say that we bump it up to 2 or 4 megabyte blocks, right? While we are implementing so that the throughput is increased and transaction fees are reduced. Why couldn't we do that, right? And I'm not being sarcastic or a smartass or nothing. I'm just asking, like, why couldn't we do it technically while we work on implementing layer 2 solutions like Lightning Network on top?
Okay, so the most basic, straightforward answer is a hard fork requires everyone to change their software that they're running. It basically forces everyone to update their software. Otherwise, they are incompatible. You're not using Bitcoin anymore. If there had been, I mean, Bcash did it, right? Bcash literally did this. They bumped up the block size. And to use Bcash, you need totally different software, right? There are Bcash wallets. There are specific, I mean, Bcash is a totally different currency. So the issue at all points in time with just like bumping up the size of the blocks was that it literally creates a different currency. The thing that to me is cool about Bitcoin is that it sort of forces everyone to agree to the same rules. And if you disagree, you're off in your own parallel universe, like Roger Ver is, right? Like, if you disagree with basically the reality of the original Bitcoin consensus rules, then you're not using Bitcoin. So that's like, yeah, it seems like a simple solution to bump up the block size, but we saw there was a real world experiment of what happened. You get a totally different currency.
And you know what? It's only because we politicize this whole issue of using it as a currency. We need to use it as a bar of gold, right? Consider it a bar of gold. You're not just going to go.
I completely disagree with that. I completely. If you go back, I don't know how long you've been in crypto, Russell. But if you go back to the early videos from 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, there's nobody online that was talking about Bitcoin, right? They were talking about how it had micropayments, it had fast transactions, near, fast confirmations, low fees. It's going to, eliminate.
They were talking about all these properties of a blockchain that didn't exist.
It did exist. I don't know how long you've been in crypto, but it was existing when I got into it in 2012 and 13. So
once it scales, you're going to have the same problem. SegWit, I think, is the right solution off-chain. Many of these people that are doing it are on that same basis.
I am not disagreeing that SegWit or Lightning Network is not the good solution, but when somebody is telling me in my face that Bitcoin didn't do all these things before, I refuse to accept that.
Well, here,
Bitcoin was doing all these things in 2012, 13, 14, and 15, right? So I don't know when you guys got into Bitcoin. It was doing all these things before. So you can't sit there and tell me that it didn't do it.
Okay,
I put my life savings into Bitcoin because I saw that what it could do. So you can't tell me it didn't do it.
Tai, I agree. So I got into Bitcoin in 2013. So I've been around for a while as well. And at the time, basically one of the big figureheads, I guess, of Bitcoin was Gavin Andresen, right? He was the guy who would go on all the TV shows. He was like the head developer of Bitcoin. And he was basically the guy interviewed in documentaries and all sorts of media. And what he was doing, which to me now looking back on it is pretty messed up, he was the one who was sort of over-promising, saying, yeah, you don't have to pay anything for these transactions. They're instant, blah, blah, blah. You can buy coffee anywhere, whatever. He sort of was overselling, in my opinion, what the tech could do, while he theoretically knew of the limitations, right? There's no way that Bitcoin was, I mean, it wasn't instant back then, right? There was always 10-minute confirmation times, right?
Okay, I am glad that, you know what? You just said something that I haven't heard from anyone.
Okay.
And I want to share that with Bitcoin Meister's audience. You just said something that I've just heard for the first time. And I'm glad that we had this conversation because you just solved a lot. You just answered a lot of questions that was in my head. But before I share it with everyone, pound that like button. Golden hold, right? Strong hand, guys. Don't be a weak hand, all right? Anyway, what you just said there, Paul, you just said something that I want the audience to know that was you just said that they might have oversold what Bitcoin was capable of doing. And no one has ever said that.
So, and
no one has ever said that to me. When I watch videos from Mike Hearn, from Gavin Andresen, from Andreas Antonopoulos, from everyone. Now, I'm not a tech guy like you are. So if someone that is supposed to be the core developers, the main guys, Andreas Antonopoulos, all these guys are supposed to be wizards and recognized as the top engineers and the top guys that understand it technically are saying that this. And I personally transferred tons of Bitcoins back and forth and saw that was near instant, and near zero fees and everything. And what you're telling me is, hey, Tai, at the time that you were using it, it was doing all that, but they might have oversold you on the fact that when it starts to get more transactions, that there's going to be congestion, and it slows down, and those micro payments are no longer going to be available without some other solution.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that because no one has ever said that.
But
no one has ever said that until now.
In terms of the scaling, about the blockchain and scaling. You understand that's what I was saying, right?
Yeah, but there's a difference in what you just said versus what Paul just said, because I personally experienced a fast Bitcoin network. I don't know how many people I've met and transferred $5-10 to them just so that they can see it, and we would sit there and transfer it back and forth.
And that's exactly why Bitcoin, the Bcash group, is having these marvelous, times themselves. It's because they haven't scaled.
But everybody thinks whenever I say something, there's an issue with Bitcoin. Everybody thinks that I'm supporting Bcash. I never once said I supported Bcash. I'm just saying.
That's all right. I'm not worried about that. That's cool.
All right. All right. Let's. Okay. Paul's got something to say, and then we'll wrap up this conversation. Paul, you were about to say something.
Yeah. So I guess I don't necessarily think it was a malicious thing that sort of Gavin Andresen was doing, though. Considering sort of the bad ideas, think that he's had recently, saying that Craig Wright was Satoshi, and just he's done some pretty questionable things that make me wonder what the hell he was thinking. But I don't think it was necessarily a malicious thing, because this is pretty much the hardest technology to explain to anyone. You sort of have to understand cryptography, you have to understand economics, computer science, hell, like psychology. You have to understand a bunch of different, very different fields to even begin to sort of wrap your head around what this stuff is. And so I don't necessarily think it was like a malicious or sort of like car salesman-y kind of thing that Gavin was doing in those early days. It's just that it's like hard to explain the nuances, right? Of like, hey, actually, those confirmations are never instant, right? You do have to wait the 10 minutes. Like that doesn't fit into soundbite. And
I think what you're dealing with though is system complexity. The human brain isn't good with this stuff.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, you can be an expert in something and only that thing, or you can be a generalist and try to understand it in a more vague way. And I think that we need both these voices. What you're saying needs to echo with people. We need to take that and consider it, you know. But, you know, having yourself obsessing over code all day isn't going to give you the time to invest into thinking about it in a lot of different ways. So it does take people from the investment side. It does take people from the psychology side, and hell, even MGTOW when we talk about that soon.
All right, good. So I think we got. I mean, this is going to be something. It's such a huge talking point, such a huge issue. This will be talked about in 2018 some more. I urge people not to like spend too much time worrying about it. Let it play out. We gotta, you know, it always does take up a lot of time. Yes.
Here's my question for Paul. So when can we expect Lightning Network to come online? When can we expect to be able to use it?
So Lightning Network is already basically, it's live on testnet. So just to clarify for people who may not know, Bitcoin, you can do Bitcoin transactions on what's called the main network. So mainnet is one of the Bitcoin networks, but there's also something that we developers use called testnet, which is what it sounds like. You have test coins that are worth nothing. And so you can do all sorts of crazy things on testnet. And the Lightning Network has been working for months already on testnet. And in fact, there have been actual Lightning transactions on mainnet, so Bitcoin proper as well. But one thing that I guess non-technical people should take into account is that this is money, right? Like if you screw anything up, like this is irreversible transactions. There's no backsies, right? Like there's no saying, whoops, I actually want my money back. So the folks working on Lightning Network are basically some of the most hardcore people in terms of like technical knowledge and expertise that I've seen. And they are making damn sure that everything is thoroughly tested, that there are no ways that things can go wrong. And I mean, like I said, there have been Lightning Network transactions on mainnet already. So this is not like vaporware. That's a lot.
Yeah, I understand, but it's on mainnet for the tech guys like you. When does a non-technical person like me able to use it? Like realistically, like don't let's not repeat the same mistakes that Gavin and Andreas and all those guys that you said, you know, that could have. I'm not saying you make accusations, but they could have over-exaggerated or oversold us on the.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait for the institutions and the wallets and the infrastructure to start adopting this.
Yeah. So when is a realistic time frame that realistically?
Call up Coinbase.
Yeah, let me check my crystal ball over here. It's hard to know. And by the way, I would say that Andreas wasn't one of the folks who was overselling Bitcoin, just for the record. He has always been pretty damn good about being nuanced. And it was mostly Gavin, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to listen to Andreas on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network.
Yeah.
And they used to say to me, and maybe I'm not technical enough to understand it, but my perspective is that they used to say the same things about Bitcoin back then.
Well,
you know, how fast it was, how it was able to be accessible by everyone, low cost fees, you know, fast transactions, fast confirmations, things like that.
I mean,
it still sounds like you're struggling with these real actual attributes of blockchain now. By look, focusing on this, the transaction rate and the fees and everything, you're still, I think, thinking within that old blockchain marketing scheme.
Russell, I mean, let's make this clear, man. I'm trying to understand this Lightning Network and Bitcoin, and you're knocking me on not understanding Bitcoin, man. Hey,
I love you, man. Don't worry.
No. Listen, man. If I buy an airplane, I expect it to fly. If I buy a motorcycle, I expect it to drive. If I buy into an electronic cash system, I expect it to work like electronic cash, man.
We're at the Wright brothers stage of
don't sit there and tell me that,
Exactly.
I know you just bought an airplane, but hey, it can't fly. It can only roll on the ground.
You just heard about it in the news, and the Wright brothers just flew the airplane.
Yeah.
But this is going to be quickly a jet engine here.
Let's not insult my intelligence with that nonsense, man. Okay, give me a chance to ask Paul, a guy that's worked on Lightning Network, so I can understand it better, man. Okay, what is your conservative estimate of when, like, just conservatively, when can the non-technical population expect to be able to use Lightning Network?
Okay, so that's an awesome question, and I actually would love to hear like feedback from you guys. So basically, in order to do a Lightning Network transaction, you need to have a wallet that is capable of doing one, right? And that's going to be interesting, right? Because the really major wallets are sort of like Coinbase, and like blockchain.info apparently has millions of wallet holders. And it turns out that they seem to be more on the Bcash side of things than I would like, at least. So to me, it's not clear that those big players, well, actually, I think they are actively sort of against the whole concept of the Lightning Network, because it really, really potentially fundamentally changes the way their business models work.
I think Matt Bitcoin kind of pointed that out, didn't he? I mean, he's like, look, get a couple competent coders on this, and 3 months later, Coinbase can have it. Yeah,
but I have a feeling that they may be incentivized to not ever implement SegWit or Lightning Network, because it really can fundamentally change the way they do business. And I think that's sort of a big part of the quote unquote like debate, like the whole block size thing, that maybe non-technical people may have not wrapped their heads around, which is that these big players have ways that they do business, and they have technical infrastructure in place where things work fine now, right? So why expend any effort into sort of updating and like basically adapting to change?
They're going to respond to threats. And I think if Square ends up adopting this, which I think if they want to take the position of Coinbase in this space, they can go ahead and just implement SegWit on that their application, what they're doing, and show Coinbase out of the picture.
I mean, basically, I think it may require like completely new players to emerge out of the woodwork, basically. And somehow they need to, it has to be some company, some wallet provider that enables Lightning Network transactions, and they have to get like network effect, because Lightning Network transactions are only instant with other people using a Lightning Network wallet, right?
How close are we to one of these really easy to download, maybe apps that maybe are just as popular, adopting this SegWit and just really undercutting? Because I mean, it seems like we're moving away from Coinbase anyhow, and just using it as an on-ramp.
Yeah, well, I mean, as Adam always says, it's not good to keep your money on an exchange or something like Coinbase, where if they control the keys, the private keys, then it's not really your money. They could just do whatever the heck they want with that.
I'm just curious, right? Lately, I've been having to ask this question with people that I talk to, you know, like, so Paul, do you have a business that accepts Bitcoin as payment?
Well, I'm working on a startup, and yeah, it will definitely be accepting Bitcoin as payment. It will be all.
No. Like right now in 2017, do you have a business that actually accepts Bitcoin as payments on a regular basis? Maybe not you know, every minute or every hour, but like, you know, consistent enough to say that, hey, my business accepts Bitcoin as payments?
No, I do not.
And you know, that's not the litmus test here.
No,
you sound like King of the Troll. That's a King of the Trolls question there. That's a
like,
I mean, that's
what
what
about
he
you, Russell?
We're getting into. I mean, come on, guys. Let's get to the point real quick on this, because it's becoming like an interview with King of the Trolls. This is what how he starts out.
No, I'm just because we actually have a business that accepts Bitcoin as payment. We accept all cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin. We even accept Dogecoin or anything as payment, right? So I'm just curious when I talk to people, you know, so that I can have a background understanding of where they're at. You know, I'm asking questions about Lightning Network because I want to use it. I want to test it out so I can report back on it and stuff. And I'm just not getting a clear answer.
Let's conclude with the Lightning Network right now, with Paul just giving an estimate for when there's going to be an easy way to use it, and whether it be an interactive site or whatever it is, an easy wallet. When do you think? I mean, I don't think it's, from what I've heard, it's going to be complex in 2018 still, and maybe in 2019. That's what I have surmised from everything that I've heard. But Paul, tell us what you think.
Yeah, so if people want to play around with Lightning Network today, as I said, it's working on testnet. So there are wallets that you can download, and right now, like if you Google Zap Lightning wallet, that is one of the wallets that a lot of people are starting to play around with. There's also one called Eclair, which is on Android, if you want a mobile wallet. And there are various other ones in development for like iOS and just all sorts of different platforms. But again, you can download these and play around with it, but it's going to be on testnet. So not on mainnet yet. I am not one of the like core protocol developers. Those are the folks who are basically, they're the ones who are deciding when they're comfortable with rolling this stuff out on mainnet. And
just for the record, who are those people, so that for computer security reasons, who are the people developing the Lightning Network wallets, and who should we trust as users when they release their wallet? I'm not going to just trust some random dude that just releases, hey, I got Lightning Network wallet now, try it out.
Yeah, you definitely, you shouldn't. Though.
So who are the respectable people out there that we should trust when they release their Lightning Network wallets?
So the Lightning Labs team is basically the folks that people should think of as sort of the best people to follow and the most trustworthy. They are the folks who basically invented the concept of Lightning Network as a thing. And like if you go on GitHub, search for Lightning Network or Lightning Labs, you'll find them. And yeah, in terms of just getting a timeline, maybe it sounds like I'm being evasive, but it's because we don't know, right? Until everyone is comfortable with things being 100% secure. It could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months, right? It's unknown. And then even once everything is like kosher, good to go, 100% tested, and we're really, really confident that there's no way anything can go wrong.
And I respect that. I don't want somebody to release some BS software that the minute I make a transfer, I lose my Bitcoins. I completely respect that, you know?
Yeah.
And so Lightning Labs is the one that the community accepts because they're the ones that invented the technology.
I think it's important to note that it's a shame that we can't rely on Coinbase to be the leader in this.
And I
want to get away from. I just want to get away from attacking Coinbase or any one individual about the SegWit. I just want to understand the Lightning Network and how to use it and who to trust to use it for.
Yeah. So, but going back, that's a great point that Russ brought up. If the big players don't end up like incorporating Lightning Network, then I mean, it's going to be even slower than it would normally be, right? Because then you need these small companies that people may not have heard of, most people may not have heard of today, and they will need to get enough traction because, again, in order for these transactions to be instant, it needs to be with another person also using a Lightning Network enabled wallet. So you have the issue of you need a network effect, right, to take hold. If it's just me using Lightning, that's sort of useless because then it's not going to be instant. If I'm doing a transaction with any one of you guys and you guys don't have a Lightning wallet, then that's useless. So it's a matter of, okay, once everything is secure and it's on mainnet, then, well, we need to roll this software out. Like, people need to start actually using wallets with this.
Okay, and then so when they release, let's say that Lightning Lab finally releases their Lightning wallet, right? Is that something that requires a hard fork for me to use, or is that they just release it, I download it, and I start using it?
Yeah, the whole point is basically to avoid hard forks, right? Like the whole point of all this like crazy civil war that went on for years about the block size and now Lightning Network is that, yeah, we don't want people to be forced into new rules. This is still Bitcoin transactions. Under the hood, everything is 100% real Bitcoin valid transactions. There's no money being printed out of thin air. There's no hard fork requirements. The rules are the same they've been from day zero, right? When Satoshi first created Bitcoin. And so the only requirement, though, is that you do need a wallet that understands how to do this new kind of transaction. Because I guess something that many non-technical people may not realize is that Bitcoin has a programming language in it, right? Every transaction is basically a smart contract that says, if like Bob has the private key to this Bitcoin, then you are able to spend it. And so every single transaction is a smart contract of that form. And a Lightning Network transaction is just a little bit more complicated. It has extra rules about, okay, if Bob hasn't spent this by this day, or it gets really deep down into the weeds, but basically it does some magic, which is still 100% real Bitcoin, but the wallet needs to understand.
Yeah, but you know what? We need to actually encourage the people in this space to start adopting this. So the very context for this conversation matters not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free market. Let's see if it's worth their while. Again, I still wonder how necessary it really is right now. How many people really need Bitcoin to go fast and need to pay cheap transaction fees? Tai obviously does, but Tai asked the question: how many businesses use Bitcoin right now? It's not that many. It's not the demand. No one's. I mean, once it's a high demand, the free market will create a business. Will come out of it. That will cater to these people. There'll be a Lightning Network mega power out there, and everyone will be demanding it. I mean, that's
the governments could fall back on their jurisdictional rights, right? They're going to just say, hey, they're going to issue a government fiat, and it'll act as a currency. They'll try to keep it as stable as possible because they're going to want to attract people actually that'll be trading this stuff to even use it. And they'll probably force their merchants to use it for taxation, all this stuff. To me, the whole currency thing is not the important part. It's the fact that it's a store of value already, and that all this innovation could be built around it.
All right. Okay. Now, so okay, we're getting. Everyone has stated their stance here on this. We're all pretty firm and everything. And I thank Paul for answering all the questions. There are a lot of questions that have been answered here today. People haven't been answered before. I think we did talk about a lot of things that you don't hear much about Lightning Network. And I'm glad that Tai tried to put it down onto a simple non-tech level, because there are most everyone involved in Bitcoin is not a tech person. They want to know what the heck this Lightning thing really is. And, they want dates. They want dates. So, I mean, but it's hard to get dates out there. So I want to say, let's get our conclusion thoughts about the Lightning and everything, and then move on to other stories. What else is important? The Poloniex, the Z Classic, everything. Everybody so, okay, Tai, closing stuff with this.
Okay, talking about Z Classic.
Oh, no, with this topic. I want you to everyone get their final word in the Lightning Network, then we'll move on.
Oh, so people keep thinking that I have something against Bitcoin. I don't know why. I have nothing against Bitcoin. I want to use it. But that's why I've been asking people about Lightning Network. Where do I use it? How do I use it? But no one ever gives me a clear answer. That's why I keep, you're one of the first people that's being calm and about it, and that's why I keep asking, hey, where do I use it? When do I use it? If I can use it right now, I would.
Yeah.
I would in my business. I would, you know, like if we, when every time I go visit my business partner, leonfood.com in Austin, it's always been a tradition for us for years. Every time I go visit him, lives in this high-rise condo in downtown Austin, there's a whole park full of food trucks. And we get a kick. Every time I go there and visit him, we go down to the food park where all the food trucks are at. You know, we buy our burritos with Bitcoin, and then we buy our burgers with Bitcoin and all those things. But, you know, this year we're not able to do that anymore. That tradition has been broken. So I want to know where the Lightning Network or how it's used, so I can go and tell them, hey, look, you guys can start accepting Bitcoins again, right? Here it is.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking, you know. But every time I feel like every time I ask, you know, about the Lightning Network or how to use it or where to use it or how do I get access to it, I get attacked by everyone about, you know, like I'm dissing Bitcoin. I'm like, dude, I'm one of the biggest Bitcoin proponents out there.
Yeah.
I want to use it. I've given more money out to people, free Bitcoins to people when I meet them in person than anyone else I know of, right? So you can't say that I don't support Bitcoin, but I can't do that no more. So I want to know, how do I continue doing that? Where's this Lightning stuff that everybody keeps talking about?
Well, I think the first important point, though, is not to buy into all that kind of Bcash marketing FUD.
Oh, who said I was?
Well, I mean, you're concerned about it being a form of
for the last 4 years before Bcash was even born. I've been saying this long before August. Bitcoin's only been around for like 4 months.
Exactly. And I think even the experts are learning a lot about this technology. And that's what I mean. Look, we're leaning on these experts to tell us what to think. And that's the wrong way to really consider this stuff. Innovation is going to start happening. The experts that understand the system in this particular way right now will be irrelevant 5-10 years from now. That's just how technology is. All right,
so we're going to wrap it up with Paul's final comments on this, and then we're going to move on. Paul.
Yeah. So final comment would be, if you want to play around with Lightning Network, just Google Lightning Network Wallet. Zap is one of the currently more popular ones, but understand that it's still very much in like developer kind of stage, right? You won't be able to send real Bitcoin. You'll be able to send testnet Bitcoin. So if you want to play around with it, feel free to, but you won't be able to pay for tacos just yet. Maybe in a few weeks, few months, no promises exactly, because this is money. We don't want to screw it up, right? But yeah, we don't want to do sort of like what happened with the SegWit 2x fork, where Garzik had actually multiple bugs, which would have completely killed the Bitcoin network. And we want to avoid things like that by having peer review, sort of like a scientific approach to engineering this stuff. It's not just, oh, let's get some marketing people together and let's get a Chinese miner to put some hash rate into this. That is an approach you can take, but in my opinion,
you know what? I think that's the problem with the Bcash guys, is that they're actually falling for this rapid innovation without them actually doing the vetting on their code as well. It's a vulnerability in there on their side.
Yeah, don't rush. I think that's what I always say. Be patient, people. We can't. One of the reasons if you rush things, you end up with broken things, and you can't have broken things when you're dealing with money. I agree.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So let's
actually do me a favor, Paul. When you finally see that the Lightning Network is safe for the public to use, especially for non-technical people like myself to use, you reach out to me so I can test it. And I'll be happy to share it with our audience.
All right, sounds good.
And Paul,
I'll be the biggest tooting horn you'll ever have for the Lightning Network once I can use it and it works the way that it's supposed to work and it's safe for our audience to use.
But isn't that the bandwagon?
Put him on the show then. Paul will be on Ty's show next year, hopefully.
But I think that kind of perspective is more like bandwagoning. Like, okay, once everything's going, the party's happening, let's jump on. But I think right now we need to have strong hands. We need to be open-minded, and we don't need to buy into all this Bcash marketing FUD that tells us that medium of exchange is somehow important.
Hey, listen. I ain't buying.
Hey, and by the way, I love you, Ty.
Yeah, Hey, listen, anybody that supports the blockchain community to do it better, whether you have opinion A or you have opinion B, I don't care. All I care is that the fact that you're out there helping the blockchain space grow. Okay, so I have no hard feelings or ill will against anyone about anything about blockchain. If you're there helping the blockchain space grow, you're doing something that the other people sitting on their ass ain't doing. So I respect that. Whether you prefer this opinion over that opinion, I'll tell everybody. For as long as I've known Bitcoin Meister, he and I have had different opinions about Bitcoin. But I respect the fact that he's out there and he's educating the public about Bitcoins and blockchain and crypto. And he's not just sitting on his ass on his couch with his hands in his pants in his mom's basement, right? Complaining and whining. Okay, he's out there making a difference.
Well, so, quite honestly, what I like more about him is that he's been correct on things. And I actually listen to people who are actually proved to be right.
Well, thank you, everyone. Be in motion. That's what Tai is saying. That's what we're all saying. Be in motion. Use your head and pound that like button. 250 live viewers right now. Oh, we're chugging along. So let us segue into other topics real quick.
Absolutely.
Well, there were so many things going on here. We again, the Z Classic forking into a B Private. Then we had the Poloniex. All of a sudden they're going to want personal. This was talked about yesterday. I broke the story about Poloniex wanting Social Security numbers very soon, which is it's something that we should expect. What is privacy going to be in the future in this space, and will people pivot to other exchanges where you don't have to deal with such things? So let's let Russ. What do you think about privacy?
Well, honestly, my position is kind of short and sweet. Look, we got to value privacy. We may not be able to right now since we're disempowered right now because of our monetary policies, because of our use of the currencies we have, because of this store of values that we lack, because of the institutions. All this stuff has disempowered everybody, the vast majority of people. Now, without privacy, you're going to run into all kinds of problems. The state, even news, working sources won't work. Even having the moment to yourself to contemplate thoughts that may seem a little too radical may not seem prudent in a society where everything is watched and monitored and brought back to you in the form of I don't know, lawsuit. So we're going to value privacy, not right now. We're going to value this chain. We're going to value a store of value. We're going to have a medium of exchange. We're going to build a whole new economy on this mess. And then we'll have empowerment enough to start talking about privacy a little bit more and taking it seriously.
Tai, privacy.
Okay, so there's two things here that's going on that I agree with everything that Russell just said about the privacy issue. Like, you know, we did a whole series on privacy on our channel. It's the most comprehensive series of videos we ever did on our channel was about privacy. So we have a massive amount of respect for privacy, right? But there's something that I want your audience to know, especially the audience that's outside of the US. You know, we have, in America, we have the strictest financial laws in the world, okay? They say that it's there to protect the consumers and the investors, right? I'm neutral about that. You know, I believe in the free markets. I believe that, you know, people should do their own due diligence before they invest in something or put their money into something. And so it should be up to the individuals, not the government, to tell you how to invest or where to invest, okay? This issue with Poloniex wanting more personal data from you to authenticate who you are before they allow you to trade on their platform it's not up to them, guys. I'm not paid by Poloniex to say this or anything, okay? I use their service and everything for a long time, and they have to comply with US laws. There's certain laws in America that says that if you're a money transmitter or if you're a currency exchanger, you have to comply with certain laws. You have to go through what's called a KYC AML process, a know your customer, anti-money laundering, right? And some of you guys that's from other countries that may not have these laws, you may not understand why they have to do this, okay? But in most European Union and Western countries and United States, Canada, Australia, places like that, they are going to require this. It's just this normal procedures for all financial institutions, and they all do this, and Poloniex has not been doing it for a long time, and now they're being forced to do it, okay? But that's not like we are in the process of registering and getting licensing with the FinCEN and the government regulations to open up a cryptocurrency trade desk, an OTC trade desk. We have to go through the same process. When a customer wants to come on and buy Bitcoins or Ethereum or any cryptocurrency through our trade desk, our OTC trade desk, they have to go through the same KYC AML process, or else we're not allowed to do business with them. That's American law. That's not something we came up with, right? If it's up to us, if I know you, Russell, I would just make the transactions with you. But according to U.S. financial laws, I cannot do that without requiring you to fill out all that information. Give me your.
But let's not be mistaken about what those laws are about. You could simply give me a U.S. dollar and that actually be an anonymous transaction. It won't matter in this economy. What I think is going on are these laws are actually just supporting corporate monopoly. And I can't say that we even have a free market. We have a market that caters to these monopolies, these corporate monopolies. It's not a free market. So when you talk about a solution coming from the free market, you're not talking about something that exists, especially here in the U.S.
Yeah, so but my opinion about that of having to authenticate the identity of the individual that's using the service, I have no opinion one way or another because it's U.S. law. It doesn't matter if I like it or don't like it. If I want to do business, if I want to do business with you with our OTC trade desk, we have to go through that process.
Yeah.
Our
I understand you have a practical necessity to follow these rules. What I'm saying is the way that you go about explaining it isn't going to fit in line with this idea that we have a free market.
Will people go around it? Will exchanges open up in third world countries that don't give a darn about this? Is that what we're going to see develop in the future, or are people going to want the reliability of the American system?
They're going to be more free.
No. Hey, that's a great question, Adam, and I want to answer that clearly for the audience, right? As a trader and an investor in cryptocurrencies, I highly recommend that if you want protection and reduce your risk, you do it with an exchange that requires you to give up your address, your ID, your passport, and that. Because if they are not following the laws of your land, right, you have absolutely no recourse. So the question is, will these unregulated or illegal exchanges that don't comply with the Western countries' financial laws open up in some third world country somewhere? Absolutely they will. But is that safe to use? Absolutely not. Why would you use an exchange that refuses to follow the laws of their country? What does that tell you about the individuals running that exchange? You may not like it that Poloniex is collecting your social security number and your personal ID numbers and everything. I don't like that. I don't like having to ask you, Adam Meister or Russell or Paul, for your social security number so that you guys can buy or sell Bitcoins on our OTC trade desk. I don't like having to do that. I know you guys. I'd rather just
I agree. Like these are very, very reasonable, conclusions that can be drawn from people that are captured within a corporate state.
Yeah. No. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. But it's the law here, and I'm not here to break the law. I am here. I love America, so I'm going to follow the laws of the country that I live in. If I move to Europe, whatever country I live in, our channel recommends that people follow the law. I've broken the law before when I was young. I've been to jail before. I don't like being in there. I don't like it when Bubba tries to go up in my butt, So I am going to follow the law, okay? So, I know that's out of nowhere, but...
No, that's the truth. That's why I recommend Tai Zen. He has seen real life.
Hey, look, beyond the homophobia here, look, what we need to think about
when you get locked up when you're 18 years old and Bubba thinks you're cute and he's trying to go in your butt, that is not a joke. But
what I'm saying is like this whole discussion, the innovation that Bitcoin's going to bring, the disruption that's going to occur, isn't going to encompass this conversation later on. It's not going to be about which procedures are going to follow. I think Bitcoin's pushing this in a new direction.
Agreed. But we're just talking about this practical issue, right? I mean, I agree with that too. But we got to address this practical issue because people are going to be screaming up and down about Poloniex and the Social Security. Paul, you haven't said anything yet.
To chime in on this topic of exchanges and how they're regulated, and that actually probably is a good thing because you're trusting them with your money, basically. If they run off with your money, what recourse do you have? But I think what is going to be interesting, and maybe I'm just a Lightning Network fanboy, but one of the things that the Lightning Network will eventually allow for is something that you may have heard of, cross-chain atomic swaps, which means instantly, trustlessly converting Bitcoin into Litecoin, or whatever coin into whatever coin you want. And so what that will actually allow for is completely trustless exchanges. So instead of ever having to trust someone, an exchange like Coinbase or whoever, or Poloniex with your money, and then they need to follow all the AML KYC laws, so they collect all this information on you. Instead of doing all that hoopla, you'll be able to not have to rely on any intermediary, and you'll be able to instantly do exchanges across altcoins. And that is something that, again, has already been demonstrated. Charlie Lee was on a YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, I think, demonstrating it, converting from Bitcoin to Litecoin on the Bitcoin main network. And so that is doable today already. When it will become commonplace, right? When will you see exchanges who, yeah, they actually will be able to be in a third world country, and you won't have to care, because you won't ever have to trust them with your money, right?
You know what? Once one of these large exchanges gets hacked and all of our personal data is linked to these wallets, and some of these people get targeted for kidnapping, then they may have to, look at different laws maybe. But what we're really talking about now is, okay, great, it's practical if you want to have a business right now to follow these certain regulations. But I think he even pointed at one of the reasons why I think it's superfluous. We're moving towards these cross-chain atomic swaps, and that, it's going to be it's going to be like changing dollars again, where you have this a bit of anonymity and privacy. There's real important issues with privacy today.
Agreed.
But here's the thing, though, Russell. I mean, we do have a responsibility to the people that view us and watch us and follow us. That we have to ensure proper computer security and stuff. There's no way that if some, unregulated or an exchange that doesn't follow their country's laws, financial laws, there's no way we can sit here and say that that's a good idea. As much as you and I believe in the free markets and everything, I mean, I think that it's a responsibility that we have to let our audience know that, hey, make sure you follow the laws of your country, and make sure that you use an exchange that is regulated, that is, following the financial laws of their country. I think that would be irresponsible of us, just because we believe in free trade and free markets, that we can just tell the audience to just go and use whatever exchange that doesn't require that. I don't think. No,
I actually agree with your point on the only credible exchanges are going to follow the laws.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, like, the privacy issue goes a little bit beyond that.
Well, bring on these cross-atomic swaps. Make exchanges a thing of the past.
Yeah. and
actually, privacy goes a lot beyond that.
I love this atomic swap. And by the way, I want to give credit to the Decred project. They were the first cryptocurrency project to actually do the atomic swap. And Charlie Lee, has done it afterwards and has done it more often. So he's got a lot of credit, and they associate the atomic swap with Litecoin, but it's actually the Decred project. So I don't want to take away credit from someone that actually implemented it first.
Tai Zen dropping Decred. That is going to make the Decred people in the audience go absolutely wild. They've been begging. They've been begging for a mention. Pound that like button. Somebody out there doesn't like Tai Zen, though. Mac gave $5 Canadian, and he said Tai Zen is part of the 80%. But come on, Mac.
I don't believe that he dislikes me. Prove it to me again. Prove it to me again. I don't believe that he dislikes me.
No, I don't. Who knows?
No, with your money.
he says you're part of the 80%, but how could Tai Zen be part of the 80% if he's dropping Decred?
Yeah.
Because Decred is
I thought we weren't going to use curse words here. I think being a part of the 80% is pretty much a Bitcoin curse word nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Right? And Tai Zen is not part of it. But Mac, I thank you for the $5 Canadian, and I do. When people give the super chats, I'll read their thing out. I don't agree with them all the time. Tai Zen has been spreading the word around these parts for a long time. He's trying to make sure that 80%. The people who are some of these people that are traders are part of the 80%. He tries to bring them into the 20% so they don't make silly mistakes, so they don't just blindly lose all their money in a day and stuff. So Tai is he tries to convert people into 20%ers. So he's no 80%er. Anyway, let's get to everybody's conclusionary remarks here, because we're over an hour already. Paul, what do you want to conclude the show with? You could say anything. Anything. Thank you so much for your technical analysis today.
Sure. I would say 2018 should be another pretty interesting year for Bitcoin. Look out for Lightning Network stuff, and buy and hold Bitcoin.
Heck yes. Short, simple, and sweet, and so true. Tai Zen, how about you?
So we recently, my business partners and I, we recently talked to a few bankers and at the bank, and they were talking about people were like taking money out of their retirement accounts to put into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And what's crazy is it's not just like your mom and pops. These are like financial advisors at the bank. Like these are like licensed financial advisors that advise people on, and they're doing it with their personal portfolios. Like they're taking money out of it. And it's like you make them wonder. You wonder sometimes, like, you know, what are these guys thinking? They're supposed to be licensed financial advisors, and they're cashing out everything, you know. And I just want to caution people that no matter what people see in the run up, you know, in Bitcoins or any cryptocurrency out there, please be cautious with the decisions that you make regarding your life savings. You know, many of you guys know, if you been following me for a while, you guys know that, you know, I put my entire life savings, almost everything that I could possibly have, my bonus checks, my everything into Bitcoin over 4 years ago. And the terrain, the territory, and the environment was completely different back then. And keep in mind that I came from a trading background and had years of experience in trading stocks, you know, futures and forex already before I got into crypto. Many of you guys that are out there that are new to crypto right now, just be very careful. And I would not put any more money. I mean, if you lose that money, like Bitcoin Meister says, if you lose it and it doesn't hurt you, you know, then it's okay. I think it's okay, but don't go crazy and do something that you will regret later on. Okay, that like if you get put out of your house or you lose your house or something like that because of the financial decisions that you guys made. So just be very careful about that.
Thank you for that. Be careful, people. Long-term thinking. Don't mortgage the house and then end up with no house. I mean, because you were a short-term thinker. Be very like
Bitcoin Meister said several years ago, right? That, hey, instead of drinking a stupid can of soda and loading your body up with a bunch of bullcrap sugar, right? Go eat an apple or a pear or a banana, and then take that soda money and save it up instead of smoking that cigarette. You know, oh, especially this. I gotta say this, Bitcoin Meister. A couple of guys that I know for the last 4 years, every day I've been telling them about Bitcoin, and every time I tell them about Bitcoin, they go smoke a joint. Every time I tell them about Bitcoin, they go smoke a joint. And then 4 years later, they have the nerve, Meister. They had the nerve to come tell me that they didn't have no money to invest in Bitcoin, that I was lucky. But you know what? I wanted to grab them and just shake them violently. They're lucky that I was still not, I didn't have that ghetto mentality like I did when I grew up in the projects, because I would have grabbed them and just choked them for saying something stupid like that. And every time I told them about Bitcoins, they were smoking a joint. Man, I don't know, man. That sounds like that. I can't believe you believe that magic internet money, Tai. Man, dude, man, you got to smoke some of this and wake up, man, because you're in la-la land. And then 4 years later, they tell me they didn't have no money. You know how much it costs to smoke a joint?
Yeah, I mean,
it costs to smoke
buy
a joint.
A dime bag is $10, and then what is it? An eighth is $25 or something. I mean, it was back in the day, from what I recall.
I'm not one of those Asian guys that's good at math, but if you smoke a joint a day, every day of your life for 4 years, and you tell me you don't have no money to buy Bitcoins, right? I mean, I'm gonna punch you in the stomach if you say that in front of me.
They're 80%ers. I mean, that's a great example right there. Just totally, and then they're the first to say that you got lucky.
Yeah.
They brought it on themselves.
I have to say, like, everybody still struggles with issues, addictions and stuff, because that's the kind of stressful culture we got. But I think, if anything, people could take a lot of what Adam's done in terms of his lifestyle, and there is something to be said about that minimalism, especially now that it's going to cost you much more in the long term.
Yeah, minimalism, people.
I've been trading for 4 years in crypto, right? And you've been following my channel. We document everything that we got into. The Ethereum ICO, the Waves ICO, the Stratus, Anshares, everything. And you know what? It's been 4 years, and guess what? I bought myself, I broke weak, Adam. I finally bought myself a small gift to reward me for all the risks I took. And guess what?
But can I ask you, out of all of your experience, would it have been better just to hold?
No, I'm a trader, man.
What did you get? The suspense is killing me. What did you get? What was your one gift?
Oh, I bought a 7-piece DeWalt set of tools. Some hand tools.
But you can use it. You can use them to improve your life. You'll save money. You won't have to hire a plumber. You won't have to hire a plumber.
When I was growing up at the shipyards, right, I always wanted some of these tools, you know, and we never had enough money to, and you know, and I need to fix stuff around the house anyway, you know, doodads here and there. And I always want to set a nice set of drills and saws and things like that, you know. So I broke week, man, and I had to go out there and finally get it on, I think it was Black Friday. They're doing the Black Friday sale. So,
okay, so
I had to reward myself, bro. I had to.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, you had a dream as a little kid, and you came from nothing, man, and you have built yourself into. Tai Zen is a great example, man. He doesn't complain about the past. He doesn't say, "Oh, though I was so bad about my." He just did it. He went to the top. Anyone can do it.
Get off your ass and go make it happen. Stop bitching, whining, complaining. This is America, man. This ain't some third world country, man. If you can't make it here, man, you don't need to be here. Get your butt out and give that seat to someone else. Okay? Get off the
motion.
Plane.
That's a lot of vitriol. I think
be in motion. Be in motion.
The fact that we have this corporate monopoly again.
Wait. Now we're getting deep. I want Russ. Russ is going to conclude with anything he wants to say about anything. You were the last one, Russ, and then we got to get out of here.
Look, I do believe everybody's right in thinking, you know, long term here, both in your lifestyle and both in the bigger picture here with this whole Bitcoin thing. Look, honestly, I think that we're looking at the strongest conceivable network that's going to end up emerging out of this. And that's going to be one that's a multi-token. And it's going to be all these altcoins that are going to be forking off and creating different innovative paths. Some of them are going to be dead ends. But if we hold on all these, like Bitcoin Meister advises, the best advice I've ever heard, honestly, is to hold. And you know, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not buy your tools right now. Wait till next year. but you know, look, people got slaughtered in these 401ks. Look, the stock market is run by these algorithms that take out not the 20% of high risk, low return. They're taking out the 80% of high return, low risk. They're taking it out of the market. And then you have traders like, you know, Tai, and then you have all these other people who just sit on their duffs. Once a year, they look at your 401k plan. Come on. The worst financial irresponsibility I've ever seen is just holding these 401ks. Honestly, you're doing a much better service looking at innovation.
You're playing into the matrix. The government wants you to be in the 401k matrix, and they'll eventually confiscate it one day, maybe, or overtax it when a socialist is president. But we shouldn't be getting into I'm getting into politics. Gotta be careful. Obviously, I love Bitcoin a lot more than 401ks. How about that? That's a simple way of.
Yeah, but I think everybody should also acknowledge that socialism, capitalism, and communism, they've all created the same thing. What I think Bitcoin's going to do is it's actually going to drive innovation in a way. It's going to actually move social justice in a new way, not the feminazi stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying real innovation, supporting real businesses, democratically run worker cooperatives, businesses that put workers in a position to actually own, because at the end of the day, workers create everything you see. And they have no ownership, and that's because of the money we use, the financial system, and how we've organized our labor.
By the way, what Russ just said, that is, if you're interested in that kind of thing, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, check out his channel, because his channel, those are a lot of his talking points over there. And I know not everyone knows Russ's channel, but all these guys are linked, and I don't necessarily agree, again, with all the guys today. We have different opinions. It's great. It was a great combination today. We're all coming from different sides, some more tech than others. Beautiful stuff. Check out the link section below to see who these guys are all about. Check out their stuff. Pound that like button. Of course, we're here every Friday with This Week in Bitcoin. It's been a great 2017. I'm obviously a lot financially. It has altered my whole life. I stuck with the buy and hold thing, and my Lord, Hashem Almighty, it has paid off. It has paid off so nicely. I wish I could tell you all the real numbers. I got to, you know, it's good to keep some things private.
And think about all that tax liability you avoided.
Well, again, eventually when you sell, you got to pay the taxes, but holding is good. It's been a life-changing thing. What a year. I look forward to 2018. We do a new show here every day. I thank my guests. They'll all be back eventually. And again, I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin
Hey, you gotta
Meister,
give Paul his last
Meister.
word, man. You gotta give Paul his last word, bro.
He got his last word. He got his last word. He's very polite. He did it very simple. So I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister to disrupt.
Pound that like button.
Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Happy New Year 2018 coming in. It's going to be hardcore. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. See you later.